Anyway, this is something I forgot about and was reminded about recently, so I'm going to elaborate on this. In my Discord, somebody who might be in chat right now, potentially, I won't confirm or deny, linked a video called ranking the best city. It was something like ranking the best cities in Oblivion to get backshots in, right? So I made my own list because I thought the video was really bad. Well, I didn't think the video was bad, but I thought it was inaccurate, to say the least, right? So here's my ranking. This is my personal ranking of which cities in Oblivion would be the best to receive backshots in. And I said I would elaborate on this because apparently this is a slightly controversial list. You know, potentially controversial. Also, it's not listed here, but Imperial City would also be in D tier. So, I'm going to elaborate on this. We're going to take a minor detour here, spend maybe 10 minutes elaborating on this list, right? So, here's the rules. Right? As it sounds like, this is a ranking of which cities would be best to get backshots in. That is to say, the cities. Like, outdoor in the cities. This is ranking how it would be to get backshots in public, in the, like, out in the city streets, in the outdoor, like, instance of the cities. Not the indoor areas. Not the houses. This is not a ranking of which player homes would be best to get backshots in. This is a ranking of which cities would be best to get backshots in. Okay? Which means it's all happening outside. Also, for reference, my player character in Oblivion is, much like Morrowind, an Argonian, so I'm also ranking it from that list, which might make you look at this and think, huh, that's weird. Why then is Leowyn, with its super high Argonian population, so low on the list? We're going to work our way from bottom to top, by the way. We're going to start with the D tiers, go up to S tiers, right? So why is Leowyn so low when it's got such a high Argonian population? Wouldn't that be great for getting backshots for an Argonian? First of all, that sounds like some weird race stuff. We're gonna put a stop to that. Second of all, it would be bad because of the class divide in Leowyn. If you've been to Leowyn, you know the people there are mega racist against beast races. The Countess of Leowyn literally has a secret room where she kidnaps and tortures Argonians. If you walk up to her as an Argonian, the first thing she says is, wouldn't it be really cool if I could fucking kidnap you off the street and put you in prison just for being alive? That'd be awesome, don't you agree? That's the first fucking thing she says. If you got caught in public in Leowyn receiving backshots as an Argonian, they would fucking kill you. They would throw you in jail and you get put in the fucking torture chamber. You would be dead. All right? I would not want that kind of weight, that kind of stress on my fucking head while I'm trying to get backshots. Okay? I don't care that there's a bunch of other Argonians I can get backshots from. I don't care that there's a bunch of Khajiit with their, barbed dicks to get backshots from. Not interested in dying for it. I am not going to die for backshots from anybody. Okay? Also, again, the class divide is crazy. Have you seen? There's literally a ghetto in Leowyn for beast races, right? Not half the city, I'd say like 70% of the city is these fucking massive McMansions, and then there's just a ghetto for Argonians. If they saw me anywhere near the mansions getting backshots, they might just kill me on sight. Also, hi Mara, hi. Yeah, sorry you came in. Okay, we're gonna get to that. Okay? We're gonna get to that. This is assuming mid-game, by the way. Right? This is assuming like the middle of the game, average setting. Daedra are still around, yada yada, all that. But yeah, Leowyn, bottom tier. Racist city. Dangerous place to get backshots in Argonian. And like I said, I would also put the Imperial City in D tier. Why? Because the Imperial City is a surveillance state. There are guards on every single corner of the Imperial City. There are people on every single corner of the Imperial City. Everywhere. It is the biggest city, not just in Cyrodiil. It is the biggest city, presumably, on the entire continent, right? The entire continent, it is the biggest city. It is the highest density population center. There are people everywhere. There is no way you would be able to get backshots in the Imperial City without, like, going into the fucking sewers with the goblins and rats, right? You could not do that in public. Somebody would hear, somebody would see, they would fucking go straight to the Black Horse Courier, get your face on the front page, freak exhibitionist gets backshots in the Elven Gardens, and you would go right to fucking prison, right? you'd go to prison for it. The guards would catch you, it'd be over, right? Immediate prison sentence, right? D tier is the tier of places where it is straight up not safe to get backshots. D tier is where if you get backshots in these cities, you will go to prison or you will be killed, right? That's how we're looking at it, okay? That being said, we're going to move on to C tier, which is cities where it would probably be safe to get backshots, but I don't think it would be very enjoyable to get backshots. Starting with Breville, right? Now, like I said, I am playing an Argonian, so swampy areas are kind of the specialty here, but I feel like Breville is just too shitty, right? Breville, if you've been to Breville, it's like a bunch of elevated areas. There's not a lot of open space, or there's a lot of open space and not a lot of like closed off areas except down by the river. It's like, I don't want to be doing it. I don't want to be getting backshots down by the river, okay? I feel like that's going to be just unpleasant. There's probably slaughterfish, there's probably people coming by boat. It just wouldn't be pleasant, and otherwise I have to like hide behind a building, but all the buildings are like out in the open. Like, I think I'd still get arrested if I got caught doing it. I don't think they'd kill me, but it's like, you know, I feel like it would be really stressful to get backshots in Breville. I feel like it'd be it'd be swampy too. Like, again, I know I'm playing an Argonian, but I feel like there'd be mosquitoes coming to peck at me while I'm trying to take it, right? And it's like, I don't want that. That sounds unpleasant. That just sounds like, no. I'm good. I don't want that. Right? So we're gonna leave Breville. If I was desperate, if I was really desperate, I could see it happening, but I'm not. Next is Cheydinhal, which is kind of one of the big... Cheydinhal is one of the richer cities, I think, right? All the houses in Cheydinhal are pretty fancy and expensive. Cheydinhal kind of has the opposite situation of Breville, where it should be good because there's a lot of like different places you could probably hide out. There's a lot of like closed gardens and stuff where you could reasonably, you know, get it on and receive them without worrying too much. But there's two things that I think keep it in C tier. They keep it as a place I wouldn't want, where it would be a last resort kind of place for me. D tier is I would not get backshots here no matter what. C tier is I would get backshots if I was desperate. The thing that keeps Cheydinhal as like C tier for me is, first of all, the presence of the Dark Brotherhood. Like, I don't want to be worrying about a knife in my back while I'm receiving backshots, right? That's just scary. I don't want to hear a fucking twig crack and then it's like, oh god, is someone about to kill me for getting backshots from their wife or whatever? It's like, I don't want to deal with that. And second of all is the fact that Cheydinhal notably has a super corrupt guard captain who gives out tickets and fines for literally anything, right? And this is assuming the quest hasn't been done where you... Oh, Boggy, welcome back. But yeah, Cheydinhal, we are assuming the quest to remove the corrupt guard captain hasn't been done, so all the absurd fines are still in place. So it's like you would get just terrible, terrible fines. You'd probably go to prison in Cheydinhal still. Admittedly, you'd probably get out after like the corrupt guard captain is removed, but you'd still get a fine, you'd still go to prison, and it would just be really unpleasant, you know? But there are enough, like, quiet, secluded areas in Cheydinhal where I think you could make it work if you were desperate, right? Also, don't worry, Baki, the bot will be up. You can go check the explanations for Breville and the Imperial City. But yeah, Cheydinhal, once again, we're establishing D tier. I would not get backshots here no matter what. C tier, I would take backshots if I was desperate. B tier, now we're moving into the places where I would kind of, I'd take some backshots here, right? I'd take or receive backshots in B tier, which is Coral, which is kind of this very pleasant, quiet city, right? Coral's very like middle of the road as far as cities go. And it's also pretty, like, there's no horrible secret. There's no awful thing happening in Coral, right? Coral's like a normal city, right? It's a normal city. The guards, if they caught you in public, they'd arrest you, but they wouldn't, like, kill you on the spot or, you know, be prejudiced against you because you're an Argonian. And I think Coral also has... Also, Coral's in a beautiful area. Coral's in, like, this sunny little, like, pocket of nature. You know, the sun's always shining. It's probably really temperate. It probably, like, hovers around 70 degrees in Coral. You know, it's probably really nice. And there's lots of spots, you could go behind the chapel, you could go, there's that giant courtyard, that big sort of mini pond. There's, over by the smaller houses, there's stuff there. There's just lots of spots in Coral where I think you could get away with it. And I just think it works because of that. Coral would do it for me. Coral would in fact do it for me. Coral is the baseline, right? Coral is our baseline of like cities to get backshots in. Because Coral's just a normal city. You could do it here, and you probably wouldn't get caught, right? I would, if somebody asked and I was in Coral, if somebody offered backshots while I was in Coral, I would not say no, right? I would probably say no in any of the tiers below this. Like, C tier, I'd say no unless I was just desperate. And D tier, I would say no matter what, right? Like, that D tier is not a risk I'm taking. But B tier is where we start to get, like, if somebody asked, I'd say yes, like, without too much hesitation, right? I'd only hesitate if, like, it was raining outside or something, right? At that point, it's like, it's raining, I don't want to catch a cold, But moving on to the A tiers. We are now in the tier of city where I am not only going to happily agree, I might seek it out, right? I might be excited for it. And to start, we have what's probably going to be a controversial pick. I saw Baki, you said you thought it was a controversial pick. And I'm going to explain myself. Kvatch is an A tier. Now, if you've played Oblivion, you probably know. Also, I am slightly removed, right? I made this list when I was like in the deep end of a Oblivion remaster playthrough. So I'm not quite there anymore. It's been a couple months since I made this list, so I'm a bit rusty. But generally speaking, I still stand by everything I've said here. And Kvatch is an A tier because, yes, Kvatch was completely destroyed by the Oblivion Gate. Kvatch is in ruins. But because it's in ruins, it means there's nobody there. There are no guards in Kvatch. There are, this is assuming the quest has been done to clear Kvatch of Daedra. Kvatch is a deserted ruin, which means there is nobody there to get on your case, to arrest you, to rob you. There is nobody there, except maybe some vagrants living in burnt out buildings, right? Kvatch is deserted, which means it is the perfect place to get some in-public backshots. It is the perfect place for outdoor backshots. Everything, you could go anywhere. Technically, all the buildings are like burnt out. So like you could be inside a building technically and you'd still be outdoor. Kvatch has, despite its destruction, the most variability of a place you could go to get backshots. The Oblivion, the hero of Kvatch closed the gate, yes. This is assuming I'm just, right, again, I'm gonna add an extra caveat. I am not the hero of Kvatch in this situation where I am, I'm just a normal Argonian in this situation. I'm just living here, right? I could not fight off a Daedra if they showed up, but the hero of Kvatch is out there somewhere doing all this stuff, and they have presumably closed the gate. Now, like I said at the beginning, this is assuming this is in the middle of a playthrough, like middle of the storyline in Oblivion, which means the Kvatch gate has already been closed. There are still Oblivion gates all around, which, makes it kind of dangerous still. But I feel like in Kvatch that danger is lessened, right? There are guards all around, monitoring the situation. But there's no Daedra left, right? The Daedra are all gone. The Daedra are all dead, right? That's been done. And I think because of that, I think there's an appeal. It's like there is an appeal to getting backshots in an abandoned location, right? Like, it seems cool. It seems like it'd be like getting one in an abandoned castle or like an abandoned factory. It just sounds like it'd be really like vibe heavy. Like, I think it would carry the situation, I literally established it at the start of the stream. I'm sorry your internet cut out and you missed it, but I've established this fact, okay? But yes, Kvatch is A tier. I think it would be really cool to get backshots in an abandoned, burnt-out city. Next, we are going to Anvil, which is probably my favorite city in Oblivion. I think Anvil is where I always go to sell my stuff because the merchants there have like the best prices. Also, it's just a beautiful city. It's right on the waterfront, You could get some backshots right by the water, right by them. You could do it in the water. And there is so many spots, like, especially Anvil is like the best city in the game to get on the rooftops, right? That's why Anvil is an A tier, because I think you could reasonably get on the rooftops in Anvil and get back shots up there. Rooftop back shots would go crazy, especially in a place like Anvil. Also, there's so many little spots all around Anvil that you could just hide in. There's that abandoned house where, you know, your contact in the Thieves Guild hangs out. Everyone has a backyard where nobody else really goes to. There's the abandoned mansion that's like full of ghosts, which might not be pleasant, but there's so many spots where you could do it here relatively close to the public. And I think that just makes it, you know, that plus the proximity to the water, you know. There's also the lighthouse. Like, I feel like I realize this is kind of stretching this, so I didn't include this in my ranking of Anvil, but the waterfront and the lighthouse are such good bonuses as places you could get backshots. Can you imagine getting backshots at the top of a lighthouse? That would go crazy. That would go crazy. A ship might crash because of it, because of your irresponsible actions, but it would go crazy. It would be awesome, right? And yeah, Anvil is just a nice city. I love Anvil. Anvil is an A tier and not B tier because there's a bit of bias on my part. It's my favorite city in the game, but you know what? It still stays A tier. Next is Bruma, which is a fantastic city because it's covered in snow, right? Which I just think makes I think more than any other city, the Bruma ranking, is because it's such a nice city. It looks so nice. There's lots of little spots too. You know, it's that same thing where when there's lots of little areas you could hide in to get the back shots, it would just make it so much better, right? And Bruma has those, right? Bruma's got a bunch of little shady spots behind everything. The temperature would be bad, but you'd keep yourself warm with the back shots, right? It would be like when you have, all right, apologies for the food analogy, but it would be like a food analogy where you use like acid to cut through something fatty. You use the body heat from the back shots to cut through the cold. It kind of balances it out, so you're not getting too warm, but you're also not too cold. It would go hard. Also, it's full of Nords, right? Admittedly, yes, Nords can be kind of racist, but I feel like a Nord would not call the cops on you if they caught you getting back shots, right? I feel like they'd see you getting them and be like, oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh, Talos also got back shots in his youth, ha, ha, ha. And then they'd, you know, run off and give, you know, hunt a deer or something. I don't know. Exactly. They'd probably try to join in. They'd probably ask if there's room for one more. And you know what? Maybe there is. Maybe there is. I don't know. Maybe there's room for one more for a chill Nord. Maybe. I haven't decided. But that's the point, right? Bruma seems like it feels like even if a guard in Bruma caught you, they'd be like, I remember back when I was younger, I'd get back shots in public too. Oh, how nostalgic. And then they just like scratch their nose and walk away, you know? I feel like nobody in Bruma would get mad at you if they caught you, right? Unless they caught you like doing it repeatedly, in which case they might be like, okay, why don't you buy a house? Why don't you get a room at this point, right? But yeah, Bruma is A tier, easy. And then S tier. S tier is the kind of place where not only am I actively seeking out back shots, I am like, if I am there, I am trying to get them, right? Any other one of these cities, I'd like seek them out, but it's like, I'm not going there specifically for back shots. Skingrad, I am going specifically to get back shots in Skingrad. It could be either or. It could be either or. I could be getting them or I could be giving them. The other person's race doesn't matter. Right, that's not a topic really, except in the case of Leowyn, where we already discussed why Leowyn's a bad choice. Skingrad, though. Skingrad is top tier. Skingrad is top tier, and I'll tell you why. It is because Skingrad is a super dense city full of low-hanging roofs, full of alleyways, full of dark, secluded corners where you could get backshots. Everywhere in Leowen. Or everywhere in Skingrad, sorry. Everywhere in Skingrad. There is literally... The only area that you could not reasonably get backshots is that big, like, straight cavern or sort of mini valley that runs through the center of it, right? That splits it in two. Either side of that canyon, though, you could get backshots. There are so many little corners. You could do it out on the streets and they probably wouldn't catch you. You know? It's such a small, dense city that you'd be able to tell when someone's coming and you could move away. You could hide it. Skingrad is an exhibitionist's dream. Okay? And that's not even to bring up the fact that, again, there are corners, there are alleyways, there are backyards, there are just spots where people would not find you all over. It is the perfect place to get backshots. No other city comes close. And yes, I recognize that there is a vampire seeing over the city, but he literally says he does not go after his own subjects. You know, he does not go after his people. He keeps his people safe. He keeps vampires away. He keeps vampire hunters away. He is a good duke, and I do not think he would be too upset if you were getting backshots in his city. Jorkton and Skingrad all the time? Exactly. It is the perfect city for public exhibitionism. Okay? It is the best. No other city compares. Skingrad is S tier for that reason, and that reason alone. Also, Skingrad's pretty nice, you know? Also, Skingrad is like the Cyrodiilic capital of wine. So you can go get a bottle of wine, find yourself a quiet little alleyway, and get backshots while you sip on some wine. What more could you reasonably ask for? And I'm gonna say nothing. I feel like that's like the top. That's the upper limit, you know? And this does not include any of the cities in the DLC, because straight up, not safe. There's fucking beastie monsters everywhere. The guards, if you tried to do it in Mania or Dementia, would probably fucking kill you. You know, if you get caught in Shivering Isles, they'll probably turn you into a fucking goat. That's just, that's like below D tier even. But yeah, here, that's my list. That's the explanation of my list. Imperial City Market District? Nuh-uh, there's too many people. There's way too many people in the Imperial City Market District. Right? The entire Imperial City just has too many people and too many guards. Even at night in the Imperial City, like, I feel like you're running the risk at that point of getting robbed, you know? Imagine if a thief found you in the middle of the night getting backshots, you don't have clothes on, you don't have anything on you. It's like, they just rob you right on the spot. They just take the shit right out of you. What are you gonna do? Fucking separate yourself from the person giving you backshots? No. You're fucked at that point. You're getting robbed and there's nothing you can do about it. No. The best Imperial City is D tier. I'm sorry. I recognize that there's an appeal. I realize there are a lot of alleyways in the Imperial City too, but I feel like a lot of those alleyways lead to dead ends. There's no way for you to get out of a situation. If you hear somebody coming, the most you can do is like try to cover yourself up, but you cannot escape that situation. Most of those alleyways lead to dead ends. And I just don't think that's suitable. Also, eyes literally everywhere. Everything there is a house. You could just yell at Grey Fox Red that way. You could, but then you're drawing more attention to yourself. And that might make your partner in this situation uncomfortable, right? I'm keeping Imperial City is the most controversial pick, but I'm keeping it in D tier. But yes, that is my objective list of what locations would be best to get backshots. In Oblivion, maybe after I beat Morrowind, I will make a list for this game too. Speaking of Morrowind,